blood there was no life left in. She laid him on a dressing board and dressed him like a swine, and laughing said, "Go now and play with your sweet play friends nine."
Modern science ignorantly teaches that the heart is merely a pump. However, miles of bookshelves around the world are filled with literature and occult research which proves that the heart is actually an emotional organ which beats faster with excitement or sexual attraction or when under stress. Many forms of physical exercise have been developed which enable one to counterbalance the extremes of emotion and train the heart to respond in a more balanced and safe way to emotional problems and harrowing experiences. These physical exercises are usually referred to as yoga. Aleister Crowley was a devotee of yoga, as any serious magician must be, for it brings into active fusion the important trinity of mind, body, and spirit. Gaining full command over the activity of the heart is a gateway to unlocking different forms of consciousness. To merely describe the heart as a pump ignores the important role the heart plays in allowing us to meditate and connect with the spirits in the spirit world. Blood is the carrier medium for the life force. The life force itself goes under many different names in many different cultures around the world. The most popular names for the life force in the Indian subcontinent are Chi or Prana. Chinese medicine teaches that the Chi life force is made stronger by fresh oxygen. This is why tree groves, rich in fresh oxygen breathed out by the woodland, have been chosen for ritual by druids, pagans, and witches for thousands of years. Within our blood, there are cells whose main function is to carry oxygen to the vital organs. In addition to distributing the vital life force around the body, blood, in magical terms, also absorbs the emotional energy every time it passes through the heart. To this very day, tree groves are chosen by secret societies to perform sacrificial rituals. At Bohemian Grove in California, initiates gather in a tree grove and witness a ceremony where the spirit of compassion or care is symbolically cremated and sacrificed to a god who takes the form of an owl. In 2001, evidence began to appear from medical experts which suggests that our heart can absorb and remember part of our personality. It is as though the life force pumping in our blood and the emotional states we experience leave an indelible spiritual hallmark in the heart. Nexus magazine recently published a series of articles about the phenomena known as organ memory. Several doctors and patients have testified that some personality traits of a heart donor manifest in the character of the recipient. After receiving the heart of a young woman, a male patient could sing and knit and sew in exactly the same manner as the dead donor. It was as if the woman's spirit, as well as her heart, had been transplanted into the man. This phenomena has caused several transplant surgeons to question their purely mechanical attitude towards the human heart. The heart contains elements of one's own personality, and your blood gushes through your heart at a faster rate when sexually, emotionally, and, as we shall soon see, magically excited. Ancient cultures, such as Judaism, were up to their armpits in blood. Their temples had channels cut into the stones where gallons of blood from animals, men, women, and yes, even children would flow and congeal amongst the peasants who paid a few pennies in lieu of slicing the throat of a sacrificial victim themselves. Blood rituals have been performed worldwide since the dawn of time, and even to this day is reenacted in symbolic form via the Catholic Mass of eating and drinking the so-called body of Christ. Black magicians who advocate blood sacrifice, such as Aleister Crowley, who recommended that a 9-year-old child of above average intelligence made the ideal sacrificial candidate, are well aware of the esoteric qualities of blood and the life force. Hot blood, freshly drained from a living creature, which has recently passed through the emotionally animated arteries of the heart, actually contains a concentration of the sacred chi life force. According to black magicians such as Aleister Crowley and Eliphas Levi, the last beat of the heart, the last breath of the victim, carry the soul into the spirit world.
King of death, I pledge this knife to thee. No, Richard, no! Makata! Welcome to our circle.
What have you done to my baby?
She does not hear you. She's in a state of deep hypnosis.
In the name of God, you dare not!
Scarcely in the name of God, Monsieur le Duc.
What's he going to do with her?
Take me instead, Makata.
You, Monsieur le Duc? Your soul in preference to that of an unstained child.
What are you talking about?
Isn't he going to?
Yes. The transference of soul. That of your child, or that of Tanner?
No!
Now, if our two remaining guests will permit, we may proceed. Almighty and all-powerful Set, Father of darkness, King of death, I pledge this knife to thee, to do thy work and be thy servant.
Those words you said before. Say them again.
And the blood of this child shall be...
I cannot.
You must. My baby's going to die if you don't. You must speak those words again.
The bride of chaos. The bride of chaos. The rider upon the beast. The rider upon the beast. With this knife do I draw out the blood which is thy life.
This form of black magic circumvents the natural path of the victim's soul, which would normally rise into a higher vibratory state and take up residence in the spirit world. Instead, the life force is diverted into the body of the magician or absorbed by a demon. Once the demon has spiritually absorbed the life force of the sacrificial victim, the magician will often ask the spirit to divulge information about the past, present, or future.
Excited Jubilee!
The shape and colour of the heart would often be studied for divination, and hundreds of temples around the world, from the Himalayas to the Mediterranean, were set up to divine information from spirits. These temple sites became known as oracles. The so-called oracles were female or androgynous psychics, usually bred from birth for their clairvoyant powers. Oracles would spend most of their time floating in underground pools, engaged in permanent trance, receiving visions directly from the spirit world. In Robert Temple's fascinating book, Netherworld, he explored the underground oracles in Italy. Here, caves and stone-lined chambers were constructed, complete with an underground man-made river, which symbolically represented the gap between the physical world and the spirit world. The man-made river at the underground oracle complex of Baia, Italy, was called the River Styx. When Freemasons and Satanists such as Benjamin Franklin and George Washington founded the government system in Washington, they oversaw the building of a giant necropolis, a temple of death, which was used to house the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument, and White House. This complex in Washington, D.C. is a modern replica of an ancient necropolis, based on the architecture of the underground temple complex in Baia, Italy, and also other temple sites in Greece and Egypt. Washington, D.C. also features a man-made river, like the River Styx at Baia in Italy. In ancient times, underground oracle temples were established right across the Mediterranean, most notably on the Greek islands. Here, the Book of Revelation was written on the island of Patmos, where visions and communications from spirits were given to St. John as he lay with his head inserted into a niche in the side of a cave. At Delphi and other ancient oracle sites, people would travel from all over the known world to listen to the teachings of spirits. Communications from spirits inspired the greatest authors, poets, and philosophers of the classical world.
Wally. It's okay. This is Danny Whitworth. He's from Justice. We're to give him the run of the farm.
I can't touch you.
No, don't touch him or anything else in here.
You can't be in here.
I understand. Just answer his questions and we'll get the hell out of here.
Tell me how...
They're sleeping.
Sorry. Tell me how all this works.
The photon milk acts as both a nutrient supply and a liquid conductor. It enhances the images that each of them receive. We call the female Agatha. The twins are Arthur and Dashiell. We scan by way of optical tomography. White light pinpoints pulse along the entire length of the headgear and are reread after absorption through their brain tissue. In other words, we see what they see. They don't feel any pain. We keep their heads pretty well stocked with dopamine and endorphins. Plus, we maintain careful control over the serotonin levels. Don't want them to drift off into too deep a sleep. They can't be kept too awake either.
It's better if you don't think of them as human.
No, they're much more than that.
Science has stolen most of our miracles.
In a way, they give us hope. Hope of the existence of the divine. I find it interesting that some people have begun to deify the precogs.
Precogs are pattern recognition filters, that's all.
Yet you call this room the temple.
Just a nickname.
The oracle isn't where the power is anyway. Power's always been with the priests, even if they had to invent the oracle.
But you guys are nodding like you actually know what the hell he's talking about.
Well, come on, Chief. The way we work, changing destiny and all, I mean, we're more like clergy than cops.
Jad?
Yeah.
Go to work. All of you. Wally.
You see.
Ancient Greece and Rome are the birthplaces of philosophy. The greatest classical philosophers, such as Aristotle, Plato, and Socrates, divined information from spirits. Divination was an important part of classical life and was practiced on a daily basis. Socrates was just one of thousands of intellectuals who descended into the subterranean caverns and consulted the Oracle of Delphi. The classical world practiced many forms of divination, such as divination by lightning and thunderbolts, by the flights of birds, known as augury, by the chance words uttered by mad people, called Kledonism, and one of the most popular forms of divination was performed by examining the shape, colour, and texture of the vital organs of freshly sacrificed animals and people. Textbooks were published that were studied by the greatest scholars, which described the prophetic meanings of dreams. It was widely understood that the spirits of one's family and the spirits of the star gods would speak to you using a symbolic visual language in your dreams. An ancient book of dream prophecies written by Artemidorus inspired many of the great works of philosophy. Soothsayers, prophets, and magicians would also foretell future events from reading omens, such as the birth of two-headed calves and other genetic deformities in animals. To this day, North American shamans read good and bad omens into the birth of white bull calves. At Osborne House on the Isle of Wight, the Saxe-Coburg-Gotha royal family, under the leadership of Queen Victoria, kept a private collection of preserved, deformed animals, such as a deer with 5 legs and other multi-headed freaks of nature, which have historically always been associated with good and bad omens. In ancient Greece, future events were prophesied by virginal maidens who would hold naked rituals in forests, invoking the spirits of animals, trees and plants, and gaze into bowls of water, reading the reflections as messages from nature spirits. This technique was used by the famous medieval Dr. Nostradamus, who would drug himself with nutmeg powder, thornapple and belladonna, sitting for hours staring into bowls of water, which revealed apocalyptic events, which he wrote down in a series of books known as the Prophecies of Nostradamus. Dr. Nostradamus had many clients who would commission him to read the future. One of his clients was Catherine de' Medici of France, who was involved in black magic. Dr. Nostradamus accurately predicted the bloody death of the French royal family.
Children, this is the famous Dr. de Nostradamus, about whom I've told you so much. Monsieur, this is my eldest son, Francois, the future king of France.
You are welcome, monsieur. May I introduce my wife, Mary, Queen of Scotland.
I'm very honored that you should receive me.
This is my eldest daughter, Elizabeth. Henry. Duc d'Alençon. Charles. Claude. Little Margot. I want to know the truth, whether I like it or not.
Each of your sons will be king of France, but you will outlive them all.